Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today we are gonna talk about the new game mode that we're getting, that's effectively, as far as I gather, a replacement to side quests in the future as well. And we are gonna take a look at this entire thing from several different angles. Number one, how well does it function as a replacement to side quest? How well does it function as quote-unquote a competitive game mode? Definitely the divisive opinions and types of players who will be enjoying this, and then overall the larger impact on the game as well. We're going to start with the fact that this is effectively replacing our side quest, because this is where we earn Mysterium, and instead of doing different types of side quests every month, this is going to be kind of like standardized experience for us. And as completing that type of goal, I actually think this is great. As a unified, ongoing side quest replacement, I genuinely think this is a very, very good addition to the game, because it's gonna save people, the confusion and the whole figuring out process. We're gonna figure out once what we are meant to do here, and then we're gonna know month from month exactly what's going to happen. Now, some people will obviously say that it can get repetitive, that, they liked the various different side quests, but I think as a factual matter, a significant portion of the players in game either barely did side quests at this point, or considered it more as a chore and got annoyed by 50,000 different currencies and in-game items and quests that you needed to complete in order to be able to do the quests, and it was just needlessly complicated, and it effectively worked as cluttering the game up more, because at this point the game is very big and there's a ton of things to do on the daily. So that said, I really like this. I think this takes away a lot of like what am I supposed to do here type thing. This takes away whether the rewards are good or bad, because number one, the rewards definitely have been improved. There's a fairly solid amount of rewards for a weekly event, as well as a bigger overarching set of rewards for a monthly event. So as a replacement for side quest, I think it's good. That's without going into the gameplay matters themselves, but the way you earn points through these objectives, the way you get effectively the weekly event with this clash rewards, get all the milestones, and then you kind of use those milestones to get the rewards in recruitment, and the better you do, the more you grind it, the progressively better rewards you do. And at the bare minimum, you will still be getting better rewards than you used to get for something that's essentially extremely simple, will 100% help progressing players a lot, and it is very easy to do without any specific skill ask, without the fear of getting stuck type thing. So yeah, as a replacement side quest, I think this already functions fine. It doesn't need any major changes to that, and I am quite happy with that aspect of this. Another thing that I absolutely love is that this has a very low entry bar. This is the type of content that everybody can do and play for. And here in these progression rewards as well, we can see that the game mode is not going to change to you. If you're Cavalier, you're going to be able to do this game mode the same way. Obviously, you're going to be getting worse rewards, and that, gives us the meaning of the progression levels. And you're still going to be doing the same quest as a Cav player, as a Paragon player, as a Valiant player, but gradually your rewards will be improving as you are progressing through the game, but the side quest experience is not changing at all. And that is a major benefit to new and progressing players. It's also a major benefit to the less skilled, the less serious, the more casual players. Because previously, some of the side quest fights could be quite tricky, or require specific roster requirements, or be tricky, require specific roster requirements, and an understanding exactly what you're meant to do here. But again, once you figure out this game mode, even the least skilled players, even the most casual players, will be able to get through this, kind of like they are doing with arenas, for instance. And for that, again, I do think it is a major improvement in quote-unquote quality of life for progressing players, for sure. And even for endgame players, this is something that you can do paying half an attention without being hyperly focused, like different game modes in this game. This is definitely one of the most simple. Like the actual MCOC aspect of this is virtually non-existent. It's actually kind of one of my complaints here. I think at this point they could have just gotten rid of it. The 2-star fight feels completely useless, or they could, or they just could have made opponents like, I don't know, for us to be able to one hit them or something, because that fight genuinely kind of feels pointless. But I digress there. So yeah, low entry requirement is a massive positive for new and progressive players, unquestionably so. So from that aspect, I think it's also a massive win. Largely, if I had to characterize this game mode, it is antithesis, like opposite, complete other aspect of Battlegrounds. Because Battlegrounds, it has extremely high entry bar to begin with, where you have to have like 30 champions that are viable for those nodes and are ranked, and so on and so forth. So that already implies you having, significant access to the champions and rank up materials and so on and so forth. Not to mention the understanding of the nodes, metas, interactions, matchups, and the skill required to execute that. So Battlegrounds, as far as I'm concerned, is effectively the peak MCOC difficulty level. To be able to win at Battlegrounds at a high level is just about the hardest thing there is in the game. And this is just about the easiest thing it is in the game. This is just about the lowest level of Arena. Arena is, I think, probably harder than this. And therefore, you can kind of see this being complete directional antithesis of it. I do think that this type of game mode also has a place in the game. I genuinely do. I do think that the best rewards, the most desired rewards, have obviously been locked behind a certain skill gate and roster requirement gate just about forever in MCOC. And recently, some of the things have been changing. For instance, some of the champion chases, like, chasing the saga champions, that doesn't require particular, skill level in the game, and you still can get the same champion as the most skilled players. And, there are these end-game quote-unquote pieces of content that aren't particularly difficult, that effectively everybody grinds through, or, if they are meant for your progression level, that do help players like that. But overall, MCOC hasn't had something like this since arenas were relevant. And that is kind of like the downside that I want to discuss about this game mode. Because we need to look at long-term viability of this game mode and exactly the type of resources it brings back to us, as well as oversaturation in the game. And I do think that us having arenas separately from a game mode such as this, together with everything else, is yet again adding to the oversaturation of content to do if somebody wants to do it serious. So again, to make it clear, I do not have an issue with the game mode itself. I do have an issue with quote-unquote the competitive aspect of game mode, because that is extremely poorly built, in my opinion. Number one, obviously, because of how RNG dependent it is, because it is just pure RNG, effectively. And for some casual things, I don't mind it at all. Like, if you're grinding for some shards and effectively you're reaching the top milestones anyways, but if you get lucky, you can do it in, 15 minutes. If you get unlucky, you might need to spend 2 hours. I think that's fine. I don't have much issue with that. When it comes to rank rewards, I kind of do. It doesn't quite feel right. That if somebody gets, luckier than you, they can get the top reward in half the time than you would, land in top 10% spending the same amount of time. That does not really sit well with me. Because, MCOC is already an online casino type of situation, and this just kind of amplifies to that. And it's just yet another way how to nullify one's work and effort, grinding the mode. If you just never get, the top combinations, because there's a massive discrepancy in the amount of points that you earn. So that, in particular, I'm not particularly a great big fan of. And the second thing that I'm not a massive fan of is that I understand that Kabam is trying to make a choose your own adventure type of game. You can focus on battlegrounds, or you can be grinding arena, or you can be grinding this mode, or you can be doing something else in the game, like what have you. You can be in an alliance that focuses on AQ and battlegrounds, or you can be in an alliance that focuses on AQ purely, or battlegrounds and alliance, or whatever. There is such a large amount of mix of things that you can focus on in the game and choose your team and alliance according to that, or go solo and all that stuff. However, I am starting to find more and more of an issue with Kabam adding in top tier level rewards and extremely kind of grindy game mode when this much stuff exists around the sides. For instance, if you're not like a mega whale, you typically will want to go and do your arena milestones. That takes X amount of time. There are very few people who kind of like grind arena seriously, fair enough, but I guess my biggest issue is game mode like this coexisting with arenas. This would have been a perfect way to replace arenas by Kabam adding in more champion rewards of lower star levels, 6-star high evolutionaries and whatnot. And additionally, adding units here. And then just bamboozle arenas off and grind this if you want. But again, having to grind units in arena, then having to grind milestones here if you want to place anywhere high, and then having battlegrounds, alliance war, and all the other new content coming out does feel quite overwhelming. And realistically speaking, I expect the situation to be, if you want the featured champion, if you want to get in top 200 at end of the month, then this is just about basically all you do. And that means you'd be sacrificing your units, that means you'd be sacrificing your placements and battlegrounds, all effectively in the name to acquire a new featured 7-star champion, which is significant. But if this is what you focus on primarily, then acquisition of that 7-star champion is kind of cheapened because you're not going to be able to get the full benefit out of it to begin with, because you're not going to be focusing on other game modes. And this game mode doesn't require, 7-star champions and whatnot. So that is where I have a biggest issue with the game mode, in the way it intertwines with the rest of the game, assuming that you do want to take and play this somewhat seriously. So obviously that, still remains to be seen, the full effects of that, how well you can do this and other things in the game. And this being new, I do think it's going to garner outsized amount of attention than it eventually is going to end up being. But the competitive aspect of this, with the amount of RNG involved, in addition to the fact that this is a game mode that you effectively would have to grind for majority of your time playing this game, with the fact that it doesn't generate units back to you and doesn't allow you to be fully invested in other game modes, it's definitely going to have a big impact on the game, and I'm not sure it's going to be for the better. And another thing that I'm definitely worried about is long-term viability of a game mode like this. Like, how well players are going to perceive this game mode in 3 or 6 months down the line. Because it's one thing when it's like a new gimmick type situation. Well, not gimmick, but when it's new and fresh and we're all jumping on it. But then it's kind of like incursions, for instance, before, or dungeons specifically, before they became incursions, and we had the saga incursions and stuff like that. Because initially when dungeons got released, everybody got super excited. I immediately saw it as like a missed opportunity, because that also, I thought, could have been an arena replacement type of game mode, where you can grind for a new featured champion in shorter amount of time than in the arena, but with harder fights type situation. And this, with them having added the new featured champions as 7 stars, again feels kind of like a direct alternative to arena, effectively, where somehow magically in arenas we can't get the 7-star high evolutionary in this game mode. We can, but then we would be sacrificing all the units and unit yield that is coming from arenas, which again I think is a missed opportunity. I think if Kabam wants to move on times, then you need to make some brave decisions. I do think add units in here and get rid of arenas if this is the game mode that I want to push. Or they could have buffed arena rewards and left this event as it is. Sorry, left this event non-existent. They could have just added these rewards to the arenas and be the same thing. If they want to be changing the game, then add units here, get rid of arenas. I don't think we need arenas and this, effectively, is what I'm trying to say. This has a chance to be kind of like more inclusive form of arenas because it's significantly less roster dependent. Again, I have an issue with this existing alongside arenas. Lastly, entry requirements. Probably I should have brought this up earlier. I'm not a fan at all that this costs units. Sorry, not units, but energy. Because we have battlegrounds that cost energy, we have our own questing stuff, and everything else in the game that costs energy. We have yet another thing that has like effectively the entry barrier of energy as currency, and ultimately that immediately means that for the ranked rewards, it will depend on how many energy refills you can throw at this thing. And that immediately, again, kind of like goes back to the monetization and the use of your units. And the end result of it is, rather than this being a game mode that you can grind and generate units for yourself, it is ending up being a game mode that you have to grind and spend units on it, effectively, via energy refills. So, I'm not massive fan of that. So, in short, I think this is not awful. I think there will be people who will definitely love this. I think this is complete opposite of Battlegrounds, and I think that's good. I do think we need things like this in-game that are current, that do not require you to be MCOC god with the biggest roster in the game. Very, very good. I do have a hard time reconciling existence of this with completely outdated arenas that we have in the game. Especially when it comes to the rank rewards and the quote-unquote competitive aspect of it. When competitive aspect of it is realistically just the amount of time you can grind in there and the amount of units you have for energy. So let me know what are your thoughts. Maybe there are things that I haven't considered, and maybe there are some other interesting takes that I would love to cover. So, absolutely would love to hear your thoughts on the matter, and I'll catch you guys soon. Bye-bye. Hello there, guys, and welcome back to the channel. So, we have all the information about the next